What is up, everybody? This is the Pot of Gold podcast where we talk about finances, wealth generation, and real estate investing. And this episode is coming out on Christmas Eve. So happy holidays, Merry Christmas. And to all you people who are trying to celebrate with your families, just enjoy the holidays, get into the spirit of giving. Today on the show, we have Kimberly Hoyt, and she brings a unique blend of compassion, expertise, and a relatable approach to everything she does. As a busy mom of two boys and a successful real estate investor, she speaks directly to women who are juggling careers, families, and a desire to grow their wealth. She understands the challenges that women face in investing and is passionate about simplifying the process while fostering a sense of empowerment and community. Her engaging and warm personality makes her a great fit for podcasts that fit on real estate investing. And so the reason we're having her on here is she's actually one of the first people that I talked to or got to meet when I started doing my own real estate investing journey. I went to the Limitless Arena event in Salt Lake City, and we ended up sitting next to each other in the arena. And she's just been a good friend, and she's been able to kind of be along for the entirety of my journey as well. How are you doing today, Kimberly?
Great. Thank you so much. I love that I get to be on your podcast for that very reason. You are the first person I met in this community, and you just have a special place in my heart because of that. And I'm so glad that we've stayed connected through this past year, a little over a year now, which is crazy to think that, and be able to support each other and watch each other grow. It's been so fun. So thank you so much for having me today.
Oh, it's definitely a pleasure. And I like that you said that it's crazy that it's been almost a year and a half now since we started this, because some days you get to this point where you're kind of down and you're like, I'm not as far as I'd like to be.
Sure.
But if you look back on everything that's happened, you get to see how much growth and all of the progress that you've actually made. And it's just amazing. It's crazy that we're here. This is episode 27 of my podcast. And 2 years ago, I wouldn't have even seen myself being a person to do something like this.
That's
so
awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it is crazy, right? When you look back and see what all you've accomplished, even though you may feel like, oh man, I've got so much I want to do, which we all do, right? But we've all come so far. And so it's good to be able to do that, to look back and measure the gain versus the gap, right? If anyone's read that book, but be able to see how far you've really come and celebrate that really and be excited about it.
Yeah, and it's been such a wild ride for me. People know a little bit about my background, how I went through some traumatic experiences with a head injury and how it impacted my ability to talk to people, and just joining the community with Sub2 and Gator and people like you. You've really helped me get around my reluctance to socialize and just connect with other people again. And it's just been transformative. And I just like to give you some thanks. Take a moment to say thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I think this community kind of pulls the best out of you because it forces you to grow. It forces you to challenge yourself and step into that next level self. So I think it's us as a community that helps each other pull the best out of ourselves and bring the best forward. So I think that's fantastic. I love it.
Well, and somebody told me the other day that the antidote to trauma is community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it hit so hard because it's been my personal experience.
Yeah.
So it's been really good. But let's hear a little bit more about you. How did you get started in real estate investing? What brought you to the whole caboodle?
Yeah, sure. So we started with a couple of rentals. One we bought very traditionally. We actually had a rental that was paid off, and so we refinanced that to put the down payment on the new one, and didn't know anything about truly real estate investing, just intuitively knowing that we should be in real estate at some point and that rentals were a good idea. And so that's how we got into it. My husband has been in construction for all his life. And so he's done concrete. He remodels apartments right now. So eventually we wanted to get into fix and flips and those type of projects. And I joined one community and it was very heavily focused on wholesaling. And so I tried it. I tried the wholesaling thing. I had my email and text campaigns going and my cold calling, and I did not love it at all. I did not like any part of it. The other thing, to your point about community, is I was trying to do it all by myself also, right? And so part of that frustration was I had to do it all. And I did that for about 6 months. I had that whole campaign going, and I just didn't love that. And somewhere along the way, I heard Pace on a podcast, and I was like, "Oh, I like his vibe, you know." And so I did as you do. You get on these free webinars, and you get into the funnel, and voila, here we are. And so I joined Gator in June of 2023 and started this journey. And when I came in to Gator, I wanted to do a deal because I had been in that other community for a year and hadn't done anything. And so I was like, I need to do a deal. And I had a small amount of capital to invest. So I did a couple of small PML deals that were dicey at best, I guess. I did get my money back, but they were very risky because I didn't know what I was doing, right? I just rushed into it. And so then I slowed my roll. And I tried a lot of different things within this real estate realm. And that's the cool part of it, right? There's so many different ways that you can make money, that you can generate income from real estate, that you get to try on a lot of different avatars, as we call them, and see what fits best. And so I tried a couple of different things. I even did the top tier TC and just didn't quite find my momentum with those things. I'm great with people and I love connecting. And so I really settled into capital raising, and that's what really brought me to where I'm at today, where I'm part of a company called Celine Bright House, and we are buying small commercial properties, but we're also truly focusing on women and empowering women investors to come in and partner with us, to learn with us, to grow with us, invest with us if they're interested in it, and build from there. So that's kind of my journey in a nutshell, I guess.
Well, that's really cool. So you kind of just had this intuitive sense that you wanted to be in real estate and that was a good idea. You went through your rentals and you ended up in Pace's world after trying to do wholesale for 6 months. Does that about sum it up?
Yeah, pretty much.
And then now you're raising capital for what was the company you called it?
Celine Bright House is
Celine Bright House.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like I said, we're heavily focused on building community. Really, like that's our main objective, is really to bring people in who maybe aren't in these communities, who kind of like me feel like they need to be in real estate or they want to invest in real estate. Maybe they're in a W-2 and they love it and they don't want to leave that, but they want their money to work for them. Mm-hmm. And so we want to bring those people in, help support them with education and information and opportunities to invest.
And you specifically are looking to help other women learn about this space and learn the skills required to be able to make their money work for them, right?
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I've learned along the way is, and this sticks with me from a podcast from Ed Milet. He was talking to a guy named Rory Vaden, and Rory Vaden said, "You're most powerfully positioned to serve the person that you once were." And I love that because I was that person who was in a W-2, a medical professional, making great money, but my money really wasn't working for me. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't growing like all the experts told me it was gonna in the stock market and in my 401k. And I
Yeah.
knew there had to be something else, some other way to, build that retirement, build that legacy. And so being able to help other women, especially PA moms and medical professionals who, they've got a lot going on, right? They are busy. They've got home life, they've got work life, they've got their social life, they've got all these things going. And not everybody wants to be an active real estate investor.
Yeah.
And so really that's where our focus is helping those people who are like, yes, I want to be in real estate or at least invest in it. I don't have the time to learn it. How can I do that? How can I invest and learn as I go?
Very
So,
neat. I like that you said that about Ed Milet, because I've been learning from Dan Martell. I
mhm.
think also learns from Ed Milet
Oh, yeah.
as a mentee. But he says that your superpower, or the thing that's going to be most impactful, is going to lie right next to the darkest thing that ever happened to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's something really interesting to think about, because like I went through some really harsh things in my past, but I am a W-2 employee as well. I run a blue collar position as a CNC machinist.
Mhm.
And that's kind of the point of this podcast, is to try to help people who might be 1 or 2 steps behind me understand the steps they need to take to be able to make progress towards their goals as well. So I like how we have some synergy there.
Yeah.
Well,
Absolutely.
that's really interesting. And I like hearing that our stories are so similar. My curiosity is, what is the process that you're looking to do to get people connected with you? You have a podcast as well.
Yeah.
Other than that, what's the name of your podcast?
So my podcast is Investor Evolution,
Okay.
and you can find it on YouTube just under my name, Kimberly Hoyt. It's also available on a lot of other podcasting sites, Apple Podcasts and Spotify and those ones. And I really started that same as you, right? To help people who are new in real estate or considering it, and just to give them information of what's available out there. What are people doing for people who are coming into this community and just getting started, to share their journey of where they started from, where they're going, what it's looking like, and just learn from them, because it's so nice to have, again, going back to that community, it's so nice to have people that you can see on the same journey. Some people are going to be ahead of you, some people are going to be a little bit behind you. And it's nice to know that you're not alone, right? One of the things I struggled with so much initially when I was in that other group was I was trying to do it alone. And letting kind of that fear hold me back, because I didn't know really what I was doing, but I didn't want to admit that to anyone. And so I just stayed stuck. And, I'm learning that I just have to speak up, to say, I'm struggling with this. Who else has had this problem? Who can help me? And work together with those who um, are doing what you're doing and can provide value both ways, right? You want to be able to help them at some point as well. And really build those relationships, those friendships as you're moving forward in your business.
Sure thing. I talked to Jay Holder from Finish Line TC
Oh, I
Services
love them.
on the show the other day, and he talked about some similar topics, but we also said, it's important to send the elevator back down once you
100%.
reach your success. And I've found that a lot of the people in the sub 2 and the gator communities, they practice that,
Yeah.
and they reach out to people who are brand new, don't know what they're doing, and they help. And the other thing that I noticed is that people get different mileage out of their courses, not just because of their skill sets, but because they're in different points in the journey.
Mhm.
And so for somebody who's maybe just starting out, you're going to have a longer runway to get to where you want to be than someone who's been working at it for, say, like your 6 months of wholesaling. And so that's just an example. So you got to set your expectations and give yourself grace, because you're not going to be perfect at it, but taking imperfect action is always better than doing nothing at all.
Yeah. Yeah. A couple of things with that. It's hard to come into these communities and see people who are doing amazing things and feel like you're behind. You're not behind. They've just been doing it longer.
Mm-hmm.
And realizing that a year from now, it's going to look so much different. 2 weeks from now, probably not. And so, like you said, setting those expectations that it's going to take time to learn the skills, to understand this. Like, I came from a medical background. I didn't know anything about business, about real estate. Like, that's a whole learning curve
Yeah,
of
it's like learning a
information.
new language almost.
Yeah, exactly. Like, okay, we have a lot of acronyms in medicine. So they get confused in my brain sometimes. I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, so I have a whole other set of things to learn now. But yeah, you're right. And it takes time. And like you said, giving yourself that grace that it's okay. This is a marathon, it's not a sprint. And 6 months from now, it's going to look a lot different. You're going to feel so much more confident. You're going to look back at the beginning of your journey and realize, again, the gain, how much you have learned in that time. And you've got so much more to go. But coming into, hold on, sorry. But coming into this and seeing all these people who are really moving and shaking can oh, hold on.
Uh-oh. Okay, so we had a little bit of a technical glitch, and so here we are again. Kimberly's just going to continue where we left off and see if we can't get back on track.
All right. Is my video okay for you? Because oh, there we go. I was catching up. Anyway, just when you come into these communities and you're seeing those people who are moving and shaking, they're doing a lot of business. Just know they've been doing it a little bit longer than you have been. And that's going to be you 6 months, a year down the road. And I love what you said about sending the elevator down and really making sure that you're helping those who are coming after you. It's very important because I remember being new and just wishing someone would help me. You know what I'm saying? And so, and there's a difference between just asking for help and being part of the process and learning as you go, right? You're not just waiting for someone to drop a magic bomb in your lap, that's going to turn into something amazing. You're still working towards it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you're coming in and helping them, adding value in some way. Maybe they need you to scrape lists, or maybe they need you to do some cold calling. And that's what you need to do in order to learn from them. So make sure you're opening up. If you're coming in to be an active investor, making sure you're open to helping in any way that you can to get the help that you're looking for, and really just providing that reciprocal relationship, right? I think that's
Exactly,
the biggest thing. And this is where, some people don't want to be an active investor. They don't have time. Maybe it's just not something that they're interested in. And that's okay too. Like I said, there's so many ways to be in real estate and benefit from it that it's almost limitless. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a lot of opportunity, and you just have to learn how to focus on the things that are most important, because not everything matters the same. And so you have to make sure that you're prioritizing your time and your energy. And that's part of the reason people want you to kind of give back a little bit, is because the number of people who are willing to take without giving back are numberless.
Yeah.
And if you try to give all your time and energy to those people, then you end up running out. But if you're focusing your time and your energy on people that are actually making progress, that are willing to give back, then it becomes a reciprocal relationship, and both people benefit.
Absolutely.
And one other thing on that is that people who are successful, they give little tests to people to see how serious you are, how bad you want it.
Right.
and they like to see that you have an urgency and wanting to accomplish your goals, and that you're willing to go out and do things to make those goals move forward.
Yeah.
Because if you're not doing either of those things and you're just asking questions without doing anything, you're just wasting their time and yours, honestly.
Yeah, I have a friend in the community, and he does a ton of double closes and EMDs. Like, that's his bread and butter, and he's very good at it, and he's very methodical. And I referred someone to him, and like, he took that serious, right? And that other person didn't. And it was frustrating for him, because he's like, I want to teach you and I'm happy to teach you, but I don't want to do all the work for you, right? Like, if I'm going to give you stuff to do so you can learn, because that's what you asked for, so do it. So if someone is willing to help you, go above and beyond. Like, make sure you're going in and being as helpful as you possibly can. And you may be feeling like, I don't know how to help because I don't know how to do this. But and I get that, but being available, being on time to meetings, being available to help, offering to help, what else can I do, goes a long way. And who knows, you never know when or who you're going to meet that is the next opportunity for you, or the next business partner for you. If you go into if you go into learning from someone and you guys click and hit it off, like, you might end up in business together. You never know. And that's one of the things. I love Ed Milet, by the way. But one of the things that he says, you're one meeting, one phone call, one podcast away, one email away from changing your life. And you just don't know when that's coming. And so you just got to kind of dive in.
And the other thing I'd like to touch on this before we move on to the next subject is that it doesn't matter what we're doing or what life we're living, there's going to be problems, and you're going to run into those. So the point isn't to be able to be successful without problems. It's to learn how to overcome problems and gain the skills and the capacity to be resourceful.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what's going to be happening as you do work for these successful people as well, because there's no smoking gun or shortcut that's going to get you to be successful without putting in inputs.
Yeah.
And so you got to learn how to put the inputs in.
Absolutely. Dean Graziosi talks about problem solving, right? And how, as you get bigger, the problems don't go away. The problems get bigger. They're bigger problems. And to be successful, you need to learn to solve problems faster and solve bigger problems. And so if you can solve bigger problems, you can make bigger money. And that kind of goes hand in hand. And yeah, the problems don't go away 100%. They're just different, and different levels of problems, right? And maybe with more zeros on the end, unfortunately, but
yeah.
or fortunately, depending on how you look at that. But yeah, so being able to be resourceful. Were you on the Barry Baumgartner Zoom with Pace? She said something.
I don't remember this one.
It's in the vault. You should go back and watch it. It was really good. She said something that I wrote down in like big, bold letters. It was, be more resourceful than your resources. And I thought that was huge. We have so much resourcefulness inside us, and within our community and within our relationships and our network, that we can do big things because we have so much available to us. So it really is just a matter of being resourceful and digging into those problems, seeing them as puzzles to solve versus problems, seeing them as opportunities versus obstacles is huge.
Very cool. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And it's been my experience, similar to what you mentioned, that as I was trying to do things by myself due to, like, I don't know, whether it's the upbringing or the culture and this huge emphasis on self-sufficiency and like independence, that I wanted to do everything by myself.
Mhm.
But it wasn't until I started reaching out to other people and trying to collaborate with them that I felt I was starting to make progress.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I think part of it is slightly ingrained in us from school, right? You can't ask someone a question about
Oh
the
yeah, you
question
can't
on the
look at
test.
the
You
answers
have
to
to do it
the test,
yourself.
right?
Only
Yeah.
you can know it. So I think part of it is from that upbringing. Part of it for me was really a lack of self-confidence, maybe a lack
Mm,
of worthiness. Like if I ask questions, they'll know I'm not good enough, or they'll know that I'm a imposter, whatever. I think those were the biggest things that held me back initially. Is
these
like I
stories we tell
should,
ourselves.
like I should know this, so I'm not going to ask because I've been in it too long. I should already know this, uh, and that's a obstacle I'm working on getting over. As reminding myself it's okay to ask. If you don't know, ask. That's the only way you're going to know. And maybe I need
Yeah.
to ask it 100 times to get it in my brain, but it's okay. So,
Yeah, it's like that that saying that if you don't ask, the answer is always no.
mhm. Yeah,
And so if you don't ask, you'll never know.
exactly. Ooh, I like that.
All right, well, let's move on to the next thing then. I know that you're trying to help other women be able to figure out the real estate space. How do you empower these women to take control of their finances and to learn about real estate investing?
So it's interesting because currently 31.6% of real estate investors are women. So we're about a third almost. I think in Pace's community, it's definitely more even, which is awesome. But the other thing is what women are just we're just different, right? We do things differently than guys. When we're in a supportive environment and we um, feel comfortable, we have the ability to ask questions without feeling stupid, as we were talking about. When we feel like we can ask those questions in a supportive environment, that helps us feel more confident and therefore more confident in investing. Um, there's some stats out there. I want to say 46% of women don't feel confident investing, and 56% of women don't feel confident investing outside of the stock market. So in other things,
Okay.
crypto, real estate, all those things. So it's really about providing a community for women to come in, to learn together, to be a part of a group so that they can mastermind together. They can, group think together and figure this out as a group and as a community, build different relationships outside of their normal sphere of influence where they're exposed to this information, different ideas, and can see women who are investing. Lori Kibbe is the co-founder of Celine Brighthouse, and she's been an investor for 40 years.
Oh, wow.
So we get to bring women along with someone who is so experienced. She's done everything in real estate. She's done ground up construction. She's done single family, multifamily. She's building a hotel currently. And so being able to bring women into a community where they have good examples of what can be done and what different avenues that you can invest, and a place to really be able to feel comfortable to ask questions, to build that confidence, and then also provide a resource to invest in if they're interested. So really it's about creating a community for people to come into.
That's really neat because humans are social creatures.
Yeah.
In fact, I think our modern day dynamic is strange to the way we lived throughout history.
Mhm.
And so, like, we actually do feel really good in little tribes and communities,
Yeah.
but we're all kind of separated out, even though we're connected digitally. We don't participate in daily life activities together anymore.
Right. True.
And so that's really cool that you're trying to put something like that together for people to have a place to be. It's really what made the difference for me and in my investing journey. And so I like that you're trying to send the elevator back down, so to
I
speak.
know,
Right?
I do. You know, it's funny because we were in the pasted a challenge that in the beginning of when we first started. What was it called? The
We're talking about Project Forward.
Project Forward, yes. Um, and I think what happened is it forced us to do it, right? Like again, kind of pulling those things out of you. It forced us to get out of our comfort zone and build our communities and build, even though they're smaller. And I think that's probably good, right? We have this big collective community that you're a part of, which is awesome, but you can also get lost in the crowd. And so
Yeah.
you really do need to find that core group of people that are your people. And maybe it's the team that you're on, that you're working with. Maybe it's an accountability group that you get together with. I have a group of 4 other women that some of us knew each other before Squat Up Summit, but we kind of congregated around the pool the first day before the event really started. And there was us 5. And since then, we have met monthly or every other week since Squat Up Summit. And I'm so grateful for that group, just to be able to bounce ideas off, share our wins, talk about our, struggles that we're going through, and support each other. And that little group is so powerful. And if you don't have something like that, start building. Raise your hand and say, does anyone want to come along with me? And find your tribe. Really, it goes back to what you're talking about, is find that little group that is your tribe, that is your support system. And man, it does feel like rocket fuel when you have that. It moves you forward a lot faster.
One of the things that occurs to me is that traditionally, at least in the United States, women haven't been in the workforce as long as men have. Mm-hmm. You think that has some impact on women's, I want to say, confidence or their desire to be invested as an entrepreneur, or just investing in things apart from the stock market, like you mentioned?
Sure.
I don't know if I articulated that very well.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think that may be part of it, but it's also just the way society has been up until
tradition.
Up until like the mid 80s. I want to say it was about 40-ish years ago. Women were not allowed to take out a loan by themselves. Like into the 80s. That seems crazy to me to think that. Like in the 80s, you couldn't have a business loan as a woman without a man co-signing for you. And so it is relatively new. And there's also just those traditions and kind of those social norms and societal norms that are changing. One of the things and the reason why Celine Brighthouse has really come about is to help provide education, not only for women, but also for investment companies and those who are vested in
My internet might be being weird. Hopefully It wasn't too bad. Sorry about all the technical issues, you guys. We're back, and we're just going to keep going where we were at. I'm not sure exactly where we missed each other.
You're all good. One of the things that we're dedicated to helping is educating not only investors, but those who are involved in the moving of money. So think about the investment banks, retirement funds, those kind of things, because what we know with the baby boomer generation who is passing away, there's an estimated $30 trillion that will trickle down to women that they will be in control of over the next decade, right?
A lot of money.
That's wives, children, daughters, sisters that will inherit money. And we want to empower those women to use that money to invest, to continue to build wealth and grow their generational wealth. so that it isn't just lost or, spent, but that it's invested,
Yeah,
that it's grown.
I like
And
that.
yeah, and then the other thing that's important is um, within 24 months, I think, after someone inherits money, especially women, they'll change their investment firm. So they'll change from the financial advisor or investments that they're in. And so that's where educating those institutions on how women are different and how they invest different and what they need
Mhm.
to feel comfortable and confident investing is very important.
Yeah.
Because they have a vested interest in keeping their money. So those are some of the things that we're building out is educational systems for not only women but also for the institutional side of investing as well. Um,
Well,
to
just to comment on that is that I think it's important that people really get educated on this. I don't think it needs to be limited to just women or men or children, etc. It has to be something that's standard for everyone, because if you don't know how to invest your money, there's a scale in society between the rich and the poor, or I'd say the financially literate and the illiterate,
Mhm.
that if you are not financially literate, your side of the scale is going to continually go down while the financially literate scale goes up until all the money gets sent over to the other side.
Yeah,
And so we got to teach everybody how that works so that they don't end up destitute. Because
absolutely.
maybe it's not going to happen in their lifetime or even in a single generation, but that's the way the curve works.
Mhm.
Eventually, it all shifts to one side because an informed minority always outperforms an uninformed majority.
100%. Yep. Yeah, and it goes, I think they say that like wealth can be lost within 3 generations, right? Because the first generation works really hard to build it. The second generation sees that. And so they continue to work and sustain it. But that third generation, they had a good life, right? They may have a lot of resources that the first generation never had, and that's where it can get lost. And so it really is educating our children also. That's a great point. Educating our children also to be financially resourceful and um, you know finding those different ways to help your money make money, help your money grow
Yeah.
and really work towards that. So I think that's beautiful. Yeah.
Establishing knowledge traditions for your children so they know the importance of also teaching their children, and the
Yeah.
importance of teaching them the importance of teaching, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's got to be a thing that you try to pass down. But unfortunately, it's probably all going to be a lot like a game of phone, where the message gets lost the further along it goes. But that's all you can do. You can do your best, and then hope everything turns out well as you try to set a good foundation.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think if you can really help your children, and then be a part of that next generation of teaching them as well, and being able to show them, I think is good, and putting some safeguards in for, you know I know a lot of people talk about like, I'm not just letting my kids inherit millions of dollars, or kind of those wealthier people that talk about
Yeah,
that, like
that's his
they
name.
have to work for it. Like it's
Yeah.
not just coming to them, right? And I think that's great, and I think that's good. I mean, how have we pursued the life that we have? Because we have to work for it. We have to put in the work to build that, and that's really life, right? That's the expansion when we are meant to grow. We're not just meant to stay stagnant. We're not meant to go and just wither away. We are meant to
Mhm.
grow. When a plant grows, it doesn't produce one seed, it produces 100 seeds or 1,000 seeds. And that's how we should be too. We're just expanding and growing. And if we can set that example for our kids, I think that's amazing.
Yeah. Well, it's like muscles. If they're not used, they actually deteriorate.
Right.
And so if you set your child's life up to where they have zero resistance, you're actually robbing them of their strength.
100%.
And because they have no comprehension of how to critical use critical thinking or problem resolution.
Mhm.
And so that's just kind of metaphor there for that. Well, yeah, a very, very interesting thing that we're talking about today. I guess we can move on to what makes Celine Brighthouse different from other investment funds.
I think for us, it really is. It's not about just the investment. I mean, yes, we want to help your money grow and get good returns, but our focus really is helping empower you to learn and grow together. One of the things that I love is this vision of um, going out and seeing our investment properties with our investors and being able to stand there with them and hearing them say, like, I own that. And really empowering women and others, not just women, right? We want everyone to come along, but especially the other thing that's interesting. So we're buying commercial properties, right? And they're small, unanchored strip centers is our target asset. 3% of commercial properties are owned and managed by women. And so our team is 75% women. And so I love that too, that we get to kind of build up that statistic. And if we can bring others along with us and they get to stand there and say, I'm a part of that. I own that. Like think of like how empowering that is, right? So like those are the things that we're excited about. And I think that's what sets us apart. We're yes, we will make you money and help your money grow, right? As all the investments want to do, right? Like that's the goal, but it's so much bigger than that. It's so much more than that.
I like that, and it's an important thing I think that we don't think about very often. But I think the scripture in the Bible is, without a vision, the people perish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think it's important that we remember that people need inspiration.
Yeah.
They need something big to shoot for or to strive towards. And the fact that you guys have that in your fund, that's really cool. I think that'll be a big superpower for you guys, and that you'll be able to bring a lot of people along for the ride.
Yeah, I think so too.
Very cool. I'm excited to see where that goes. All right. Well,
for sure.
How do you balance being a mother, an entrepreneur, and a real estate investor? Like, how are you juggling everything?
Yeah.
Seems like, I mean, there's only so many hours in a day.
Right. And that's a thing, right? We don't get more time. And I think balance is a pipe dream. I don't think there's ever balance, right? You're not going to get everything where you're spending equal time. I think it is really making the most of your time and making sure that, especially when I have time with my kids, that it's dedicated time, that I'm not on my phone texting others, that when I'm with them, I am with them. Mm-hmm. And being truly present, right? Being where your feet are, being truly present in that moment and creating quality time, not just quantity time, has been big for me. And I mean, it's work, yes, but I love it. I actually just started a new W-2 in September, and It's been great. I love it. I really enjoy it. It's significantly better than what I was in previously, and the environment is different, and so that makes a huge difference. And so it's kind of interesting because I get a little bit of time there. I get to spend a lot of time when I'm not working on real estate stuff, and find a balance. What I love to do is talk to people. And so at my job, I get to talk to people all day. With investing, I get to talk to people all day. It's fantastic. So
yeah, that's really cool.
It works really well. Yeah. And then really just keeping evenings and time on the weekends, like on the calendar, right? We talk about making sure if it's not scheduled, it doesn't happen. Just making sure that time is scheduled for spending quality time with my kiddos and my family, for sure.
Well, that's definitely a skill you have to develop, because I think there are a lot of people that feel constrained by a schedule.
Yeah.
Like they want to be able to just float along with the wind and just do whatever the current takes them, right? Float along. But I found that you're right. The more you schedule things and you're honest with your commitments on your calendar, the more you're able to be present in the moment, because you already know that things are going to be taken care of at a later point because you've already planned it ahead.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
you have like, you're closing these open loops that you have in your head so that you're not constantly thinking about them
Yeah.
when you're doing something else.
I love that. And it's the discipline builds the freedom, I think. When I have been in that spot where I felt like, oh, this is too constraining if I put all this stuff on my calendar.
Am I building myself a cage?
Right. But it really is that discipline is what builds that freedom, because then you're like, oh, 6 o'clock, it's family time. Like, that's just what I'm doing. And I don't
Yeah.
have to, think about it. And I just know, like, work will get done another time, and we'll make it happen. So, and it also helps you be more focused on that work time, and more dedicated, versus I think if you don't have that schedule, it's easy to grab your phone and
Yeah.
scroll a little bit, and an hour goes by and you're like, oh.
I've been using different little tools to try to help me focus better. One of them is a little timer, like a desk timer, egg timer, and just kind of turn it. And if I get distracted, it's got to get paused because I'm distracted. And you kind of get an idea of where you can get work done and how often you get distracted. And then you can kind of measure your progress along the way. The other thing that I was doing was I listened to a very specific soundtrack when I'm trying to do like
Ooh, I love that.
intense work, and it's got to be music that's not distracting.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's there as a rhythm, but it can't be something that I'm trying to jam out to, because that's a distraction.
Sure. Yeah, I like that. I used to, when I would study in college, the Gladiator soundtrack, the Harry Potter soundtrack, were two of my favorites. And then I found on, I think it's on Pandora, it's Electronic for Study, and so
Okay.
it's all instrumental, but some of it's more like popular music now, just instrumental, and I like that because then it's not distracting with the words, but I enjoy that. So I like that. Yeah, with the egg timer or the timer on your desk, the Pomodoro technique, kind of spending 25 minutes of work and then getting up and, taking that break is good. Jim Quick's book, Limitless, is great. And what he talks about is how taking those breaks are really important, because he talks about our brain learns more with primacy and recency. So the first thing that you learn and the most recent thing. So a lot of times the first and the last thing that you do are the things that you remember more. If you're working or studying for 25 minutes and writing stuff down, and then when you come back to it and you review it, that also helps kind of solidify it in your brain. Yeah.
And that was Limitless is the name of the book from Jim Quick?
Yep. Limitless. I think I have it on my desk.
I just wrote it down.
So
okay, cool.
That one's really good. He also did a podcast, or not a podcast, but a Zoom with Pace. It's in our vault that you can go check it out. It's good.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to look into that. It's
always a
new thing to learn, right?
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, and Dan Martell did one as well.
Okay.
He was really good in his book, Buy Back Your Time. Is that
Yeah, I've got that one actually.
Yeah.
I actually joined Dan Martell's business coaching program.
I remember you saying that.
I got that on my desk here. There's a lot in this, and it's really useful. The problem is like I'd say 60% into the book, it got to a level where I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to return to this book because I am not at that point in my business yet. So
what I've found is, especially with like Limitless and some other books, like The One Thing was the other one that I've had to listen to it a lot because like I don't catch everything the first time, and
there's a lot of mindset stuff that you have to shift as you're learning some of these lessons, and sometimes that's hard to do. I remember when I read Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he talked about the concept of good debt, and that was so foreign to my worldview that it took me a good year and a half of wrestling with that idea before I finally got to a point where I was like, okay, I can see how this would be beneficial if you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But it did. It took me a long time to try to wrap my head around that, because my entire upbringing was, no, debt is bad. You want debt at zero at all times.
Right.
And if you have to go into debt, you pay it off as fast as you can.
Right. Yeah, that's how I was with The One Thing. I listened to it, and my friend Lila, she was like, "Oh my gosh, this book changed my life." And I was like, I didn't get that out of it. And so I was like, maybe I missed something. And so I went back, and some things, and she told me actually later, she's like, I actually read this book maybe in 2018 and didn't get anything out of it. Sometimes it just has to be the situation you're in,
You have to be in the right place at
and
the right
things
time.
hit you, you're like, oh, now I see it, and probably now you go back and listen to Rich Dad Poor Dad, and you're like, yep, you just know more, and just
You're probably right. I'll have to go back and reread that.
different perspective for sure. Yeah. So, and I think that's a part of just learning and growing. And like you said, I love that you're like, okay, well, I can implement up to here, but I need to come back because I'm just not quite there yet. And that's okay, right? Like, just like we said, in a year from now, dude, you're going to be moving and grooving, and you're going to be needing those tips and those tricks to get you to where you want to go.
Exactly.
So I think that's fantastic that, you have that self-awareness of, I'm just not ready for that yet.
Well, and I think we all get into this mode where we want to do all of it all at once so that we can have the result right now. But it has to happen in sequence. You have to build the foundation before you can build the walls, before you can build the roof. And so you got to do things correctly. And sometimes that's frustrating, because patience is a virtue for a reason. And we all struggle with that to some extent.
Yeah, I think it's Tony Robbins who said, we all overestimate what we can do in a year, but underestimate what we can do in 10 years.
Yeah.
And I think that's huge. If we just put our heads down and just keep working, 3-5 years from now, when we look back to measure that gain, it's going to be huge. And I think what happens is, we're going. It feels really hard. And then it just like takes off, and you just have to keep going.
Yep.
And that's where we're all at right now, is in that keep going phase.
And it always feels like that. You never feel like you arrived. But that's okay. I don't think that we would enjoy life if everything just happened without any kind of input. I don't know if you'd even appreciate it.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing, wherever you're doing, I mean, we look at Pace, like he's always striving for that next level. That is life. That is growth. That is what we're meant to be doing. And you're right. It would be boring if we just arrived. What would you do then?
Sip mimosas on the beach for, I don't know, 72 hours straight kind of thing.
I know you could do that for, a week or two, and then you'd be like, again on the beach. Yeah. That's what we're doing
at some
today.
Point you want the novelty of a different experience.
Exactly.
Well, cool. How can people connect with you so that they can start to take advantage of the resources you're offering, the community, the education, and get started on their own journey?
Absolutely. You can find me on Instagram at the Kimberly Hoyt. Facebook is just Kimberly Hoyt. LinkedIn is just Kimberly Hoyt. And you can check us out at CelineBrighthouse.com and find some resources there as well. Very cool.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to tell the audience before we get off the episode today, Kimberly?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me today. I'm so grateful for you. I just love you so much. And so thank you for letting me be a part of your podcast and share with your audience. And for all of those who are listening, Nathanael is amazing. Keep watching him. He's growing. He's doing big things. And I want you to be a witness to that journey with him.
Oh, you're going to make me blush here.
Well, you had to match your hat.
Well, thank you, Kimberly. I really appreciate our friendship, and I do appreciate you coming on the show today. So this has been the Pot of Gold podcast. We talk about finances, wealth generation, and real estate investing. And everyone have a wonderful Merry Christmas.
Yes, Merry Christmas.